All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. Everyone is here. Judith is on the phone, and Derek Schuster's on the phone, and Bert is not with us tonight and won't be calling in, as far as I know. I emailed him, didn't respond, and I don't have his cell. So no one's called him. So I don't even know if he could call. So I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you want to do roll call? Okay. Jack, we'll start. Yeah, state your name that you're present. So we'll start with Jack.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
David Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
And Nat Lowe, chair, votes aye. Thank you, Eleanor. You're going to have to. Sorry, Judith. Sorry, you said it once. I'm sorry, Judith. So, Eleanor, you have to keep us on our toes here tonight with this. So,
You
okay.
also have to allow me to stay caught up, so John, I'll let you know.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So, you ready for the minutes approval, Eleanor? Okay. Okay. So, I'll accept the motion to. Well, does anyone have any questions on the minutes? Yes.
Just one correction
I actually
that
read
I've
them.
already spoken to Eleanor about.
Yep.
And it's on page 10 and 11 of the packet, which is 6 and 7 of the minutes. And it's simply, there was a reference to 2020 coordinated human services public transportation plan. And as we've discussed, that's a typo. It should just be to the transportation plan.
Okay.
Because we
I
had
remember that
previous-
discussion.
We
Right.
had previously approved on page 5 and 9 that disabled person's plan.
Right.
Everybody following me. So we actually, Eleanor explained it.
Now, do you remember that exactly? No, I remember something about this. I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, I think it's seriously just a cut and paste thing. I was repeating the same motion. We were making basically the same motion. I just
Okay.
didn't lop off.
Oh, so you know what correction to make?
Exactly, it's
Okay,
totally a
perfect.
typographical.
Okay, so with that correction,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
sorry, I have one correction on page 14. At the top where there's a reference to the motion it says vote to approve Director of Forces contract.
yes.
It was
not
the
a
annual
contract.
review.
Right, that's right. Yep,
Good. Okay, I will correct these and post these tomorrow.
okay,
So. who
it's
made the
true,
motion?
it's right. I didn't even catch that myself. Oh, my God. Okay. So with that said, do we have a motion to approve the minutes with those changes?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll do, Jack did, so we'll have to do a roll call, sorry. So Ja-
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, yes.
David Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowe, aye. And Judith?
Judith Wagner, aye.
There we go.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Can't forget about Judith.
Okay, right, next, public comment. Does anyone have any public comments that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll continue to the at-large appointment. We have Jack has re-upped for this appointment. So I'll accept a motion.
I'd move that Jack Gardner be appointed the at-large member for a term of 3 years.
I second that.
All those in favor? Oh, all those in favor? Is it appropriate to say all those in favor and then do the, or
Yes.
should we do it just by roll call?
You can do both.
Okay, I'd like to kind of do both, if that's okay. I might screw up later. So, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll do the roll call. Oh, thanks, Judith, sorry. So we'll start with the roll call. Jack?
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, yes.
David Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
And Nat will aye. And Judith?
Judith Wagner, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So unanimous, Eleanor. Okay, I'll accept a motion to, excuse me, who was that? Oh, that was just a voice that came through. I'll accept a motion to accept Matt Fee as the county commissioner rep for this year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Judith votes aye. Jack, we'll start with you again.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Rich McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye, if I can vote for myself.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith?
Judith Schweitzer, aye.
Excellent. Thank you, Judith. See, I'm getting better. Okay, so unanimous, Eleanor. Thank you. And Bert got appointed again, so I'll accept the motion to approve, accept Bert's nomination from the Housing Authority.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, who, John?
John's made the motion, Fritz seconded. Eleanor? Okay. Start with the roll call, Jack.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Rich McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
And Nat Lowell, aye. Thank you. And I'd like Judith. Oh, I'm sorry, Judith.
We got it.
I got to read it two times. I need we need a phone with a face on
I
it.
know, I was gonna say, FaceTime.
Jeez. Okay, so I'd like to just also make just a brief statement to thank Andrew Bennett for his years as the appointee in the NPNEDC from the Conservation Commission and as vice chair for all those years, Andrew.
Been a pleasure.
We love having you here, and I'm very, I hope you come back. I hope you come back.
I'll probably will.
I was hoping you just forgot to put your name in to the selectmen, but I guess not.
You'll have the gold watch.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
So
you.
we certainly appreciate your years of service here very much. Okay, so now we move on to the more complicated one, the election of officers.
Tabling the Concom to July, correct?
Yeah, well,
Because
the next, yes, they haven't endorsed, they haven't appointed anyone yet. The appointments are tomorrow, Wednesday night, new appointments. And this is the 15th, I mean, Andrew, we don't know, what are we doing on the 15th? We don't actually know that yet, but it could be a different date.
We don't have a July meeting scheduled.
Right, okay. So so the next scheduled meeting, whatever that is, will be the appointment or the acceptance of the next Concom member. So, is that good, Eleanor?
well, we do have one, we have a space holder for the July meeting,
Right.
so that's.
Space holder for this room? Or,
I'm pretty right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's getting
what is
tight in here, by the way, I've been told.
What is posted on the website, I think Mike wanted to reserve in case we needed to do something in July, if there was something specific we thought might need to be dealt with in July, back in January.
Yeah.
So if we were to have a meeting in July, then we have the room for the 15th.
Okay.
No problem.
Is that a Monday? Obviously, okay. All right, so thank you. So the election of officers, so myself as chair and Fritz as vice chair. If we have any, I'll accept a motion from anyone for anything at the moment.
I'd like to make a motion. Or
Okay.
no, or make I would like to nominate Fritz McClure as chairman.
Okay, so if that's the case, what I have to do is appoint Chairman Pro Tem, Andrew? Okay, so I'm gonna, Judith is not here. She's here on the phone, but she's not here physically, so she can't be the Pro Tem, which was the typical, what we normally do.
Yeah.
So I will appoint John Trudell as Chairman Pro Tem.
Mr. Chair, just for a comment, I plan to make a motion to keep the present board or officers as they
Can a chairman
were.
pro tem make a
So
motion?
if I'm going to do that, would I
I don't
be
know the answer to that question.
assigned the pro tem? I don't want to have any conflict.
I don't even know if is that,
already been a nomination. nomination.
Right, okay.
So we need to proceed ahead under the nomination.
Okay, then I'll step
And
in
if
for
there's
this nomination.
Correct.
Okay,
Need to hold your motion till this.
great.
Okay,
Full
right,
disclosure, okay.
okay.
So we have a motion on the table. There's a second, and let's vote. All in favor of Fritz becoming the chairperson? Aye? So, or say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we get a count? We'll do a roll call, okay? Those in favor of having Fritz as the chair, put up your hand and,
You have to go down the line.
okay.
Sorry.
Well, thank you. Official. Jack, yay or nay? Nay?
Andy, nay.
2 nays.
Fritz, yeah.
Nat?
Nay.
Myself, nay.
Yay.
Leslie, yay.
Yay.
5, nay.
And then you gotta ask Judith.
And, okay, and yes.
I'm gonna have to
And
write
Judith?
fast.
Yeah.
That's a yay. Okay,
Okay, so Wendy, so I'm gonna need to recapitulate. Give me a second, please.
I think we had
I have
5 nays.
Judith. We're afraid about this tie thing. Barrett's not going.
4, 5. I think it's 5 and 5, if I'm
5
not
and
mistaken, with Judith being the 50 yay. I think Bert is
Dave.
missing.
And Judith, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep, okay.
5 names.
Yes.
There's only 10 of us today. Here today, excuse me.
Okay.
Usually goes.
No,
No, I usually.
tie has to be continued, right, Andrew?
If the motion fails, if there's another motion, or we move on, or whatever you're gonna do.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
I move that Nat Lowell, the appointed chair, coming in.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's have
Aye.
a roll call. Jack?
Andy, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
Matt Lowell, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Nat has been renominated or reelected to the chairperson position. All right.
Do you need to say?
Vice chair, I think we have to have a vote for that. Is there a nomination?
I'll make a motion for Fritz to be vice chair. for this
Second?
Second that.
David Iverson, second. All those in favor?
year.
Aye.
Sound,
Andy Bennett, aye. Fritz McClure, aye.
Matt Lowell, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous.
Thank you. Good job, John. It's complicated, that stuff.
There you go.
Thank you,
My
thank you.
Work here is done.
Thank you very much, very much. Okay, next thing, Andrew, can you, Bert is the contract review committee member now, and I believe he wants to stay at that? Is that the case? Is anyone else, following this particular appointment? Okay, so I'll accept the motion then, if there's nobody else wants to. Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
David seconded, Eleanor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, yeah, Jack, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. Oh, John, sorry.
John
Skip
Trudell,
over.
aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Judith? Hi, Judith. Aye.
A little delay.
And Nat Lowell, aye. So unanimous for Bert, Eleanor. The capital program committee is me. I didn't put a letter into that. Wasn't really thinking about that part. Been doing it, I think I've been on this for 3 years. I enjoy it. It's a lot of time, but it's gotten incredibly better run, very organized. Steve Welch has been masterful at changing the capital program committee with staff. Finance staff has been, I mean, they've adopted his rigorous way of dealing with all the rankings, and it's actually working. We just had a meeting the other day to sort of kind of streamline it a little bit for staff. We have some new people in the finance department, and they're doing a really good job. So I'd like to stay on if that's okay with everyone. Otherwise, if anyone else is interested.
No, I would move, we appoint Nat to the Capital Program Committee.
Is there a second? Oh, Jack. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Judith? Judith, you okay down there? Okay. Thank you. Roll call, sorry. And Fritz?
Rich McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fion, Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Judith? Hi, Judith. We got the roll call, and Nat Lowell, aye. Thank you. Thank you, Judith. Got you. Okay, Eleanor, are we good? Unanimous? Okay. MARPA, we need someone to replace Barry on MARPA. This is Andrew might have some things to say about this,
So the main
what this takes to do.
Main responsibility would be at most to attend an annual meeting. We have not gone to all of them in the recent past. And then the person could help with reviewing the, basically the monthly agenda that comes out. This is our representation on the regional planning agency level. So there are 13 of the various districts represented there, and there's usually a policy person in addition to staff. And Barry was in that role for quite some
And
time.
this is all expenses paid by the town.
Yep.
Or by this department.
Yep.
Wendy, didn't you do this before?
Yes,
Yes, Judith.
a question.
Yes.
Question to Andrew. Are these in-person meetings, or is it possible to attend electronically?
They are in person.
Kind of old school.
They have not got the technology. So Mike, basically Mike and Leslie,
I would offer to do it if following Barry as chair. It's just hard to know, given other travel and things, whether I'd be able to go.
Andrew, what's the
all of them, but if the practice is that you go or someone from staff goes, is it still useful to have somebody like me, or would it be better to have someone else?
I think Judith, with her knowledge, would be a great person to be on there. Judith, it's not a requirement that you go to every meeting. There may be some meetings that you're interested in, and some, a lot of the meetings, about Amtrak and other things that have no real connection here. But basically the staff, Mike.
Why not? Bring back the train and
Well, I know, okay, well, we'll talk about that with the bridge study anyway.
In the tunnel.
But I think Judith, Judith had expressed interest in this before.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
I would nominate Judith for the appointment.
Jack made the, no, you just seconded. Jack, yeah. All those in favor? Aye. So Jack, we'll start with you.
Independent eye.
Fritz?
call.
Yeah. John?
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fion, Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Vote.
Wagner, aye.
Yep, so unanimous, Eleanor. And Andrew, you have the agenda and sort of the criteria for each meeting way ahead, so Judith could
Yep.
kind of, it's not like it's a week before you find out about it.
No, it should be on the email list.
Yeah, we just add her into the email.
Okay, oh, I see. Okay,
Yep.
good. Oh,
Yep.
I didn't know you could do that. That's good. Okay. All right, Affordable Housing Trust. So Dave has expressed interest for this. Judith is the current member. We don't have this on planning board, right? Andrew, we don't have this planning, but this is strictly a planning commission nominee, right?
Yes.
For this? Okay, just making sure.
I don't know if you heard
Judith just made a motion to appoint.
Judith.
Nominate David
And
Diverson.
let me just comment, Matt, I think this is really an important and very satisfying role. The only reason I'm stepping off is I thought that Dave was interested in that. I've got other things like the open space committee now.
And Martha. So,
I'll second Judith's motion.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jack?
Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt P. I. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous, Eleanor.
You could tell him, yeah.
We have a meeting tomorrow, it's very quick.
Does he have to get sworn? He doesn't have to get sworn in because he's already sworn into. Or do you have to?
You have to get sworn in on
You-
each.
you do?
Yes. It's a
Okay.
separate role.
I didn't really know. I forget that. Okay.
Another
Okay.
pen.
But
Another
I think this is something like.
Yeah, there's a lot of swearing.
It's amazing. I bet there is, Judith.
I don't think the one tomorrow is as important as some of the other ones.
Yeah, so I will get sworn in, but I'll be out.
Okay.
Okay, great. Congratulations, David. This is good. The bylaw committee is something that's the back in the day thing. Andrew, can you just explain to
Sure.
everyone about this?
So I did include a copy of the bylaw with my markups because it's been a while since we looked at that. There's been some home rule petitions passed and other things. Jack, Gardner, Linda, and Barry were on that bylaw committee, so normally there's a report offered at our annual meeting, but again, since that's been vacant and hasn't been done for a while, we need to repopulate that, and there's nothing to act on those bylaws tonight, but again, that's among the first tasks that I would hope that the bylaw committee gets into. So
And I volunteer for that if y'all want me.
Yeah. So hold on one second, Judith. Andrew, can you just
Yep.
follow up? How do we find it? I mean, is this something that you're going to email out, or how does this get? How do these meetings get?
well, the committee has to be reconstituted, and then they have to, post their time and everything else.
Is that through this body?
Yes, just
Okay.
any
Okay.
three of you.
Okay. Okay.
So shall I be their staff person?
Okay. So Judith asked to be on. This is something I might be interested in, kind of looking at this.
No.
Possibly. I wouldn't mind being on this. This isn't a lot of time, Andrew, right? This is more of,
No, I would anticipate one or two meetings.
Yeah.
Bring back an updated bylaw to the commission for voting.
okay,
So,
okay.
and then
Is this a summer
there's
thing? Is this a sort of in-season or wintry thing? Just wondering.
well, it's supposed to be an annual thing if there's a need to make changes.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we've had 2 home rule petitions that have passed. We've had charter update plus reorganization. Other things have happened that need to be reflected in the bylaws.
Okay, so this is a cleanup
Yeah.
situation we're in right now.
Yep.
Okay. Jack, how do you feel about this?
If you can find 3 other people, great.
Okay. You've been historically on this for so long, you have a right to, in my opinion, to voice your concerns or desires. So Judith has asked to be on. Does anyone else have any thoughts about this?
I'd be happy to be on it unless somebody else.
Okay. Does anyone else? Okay, so,
You got to
I
express an
don't
interest.
mind, I'd like to be on it if that's
Well, there
okay.
you go, there's
I'd like to
3.
nominate,
that-
do we
you
have to
guys okay with
nominate
that?
individual or all 3?
Do all 3 at once.
I'd like to nominate Judith, Fritz, and Nat to the bylaw committee.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll
Chair
call.
votes aye.
Aye.
Andy Bennett,
Judith
aye.
votes aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt P. I. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat will aye, and Judith? Aye.
Aye.
There we go, I don't wanna,
See who seconded or first.
This
Who
is,
seconded
I think Matt
did.
Matt seconded it,
Thank you,
yep. Okay,
Matt. I will be the staff person for that, so So
Okay.
anyone who wants to spearhead should meet with me so I can make sure that there's something on the website and I can post appropriately meetings and so forth.
Okay. So you'll be taking minutes and sort of taking care of that. Okay.
I looked at the markup and most of it seems pretty straightforward. I don't think there's any major, but.
Okay. All right, so this is the next thing is a new committee formed for Toby Glidden's article for the 20 million for the housing. They're calling it the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee. We need one person. So does anyone have any interest in this? David?
Yes,
Oh, sorry, Judith, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just as an explanation to folks, if we don't get an added, I asked Megan Trudell to be sure I understood it, since I'm the transitioning party for the
Affordable housing.
housing,
Right.
folks, and it could be it could be someone from, I think it's designated as either planning or Economic Development Commission. The select board gets a separate somebody beyond the member of the Affordable Housing Trust, but I think you're right where you were headed, that I think we don't get an added appointment, so I think it probably has to be Dave. I just wanted to be sure that everybody knew that context, because it's an important committee, and I think going to have 10 or 12 members that got particular tasks about determining the procedures for acquisition of kind of target areas for acquisition of properties, the needs, the goals of that town meeting initiative, and it also is going to be giving advice. It's going to be working with Ken Bogrand as well as Tucker Holland. So
was thinking
it's an
about that.
important role, but I think it probably has to be Dave as the rep.
I was just going to ask about Ken. So Ken's going to be doing this at these, spearheading this,
Yes.
right? Okay. I would think so.
A real estate guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andrew, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll accept a motion for Dave from someone then, if that's fair.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, so
I made the motion,
Motion for
Eleanor.
Dave.
John.
Yeah. Jack?
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
FBI.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith?
Aye.
Thank you,
who
Judith.
made the motion, I'm sorry?
John and Fritz seconded. Okay. So you good? Ellen, are you ready? You good? Okay. How'd we do? Did we do all right?
Everything was.
I mean, that wasn't too bad with all that. I'm trying to think the last time that happened. Okay. Bicycle Advisory Committee. So is everyone, you haven't, Dave, this is your first time doing this. Just for a little update. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, there were openings that closed at 4 o'clock today, is that right? Yes. Mike? So we're going to give you a ballot. I think that's the easiest way. There's a large number of applicants.
Yeah.
So there are no secret ballots. You need to sign your name to each of the ballots, and then we will read them. And Judith will take yours afterwards, so don't vote yet. After all the ballots are turned in, then we will get your vote.
Does she have the list from this piece of paper?
I do.
You have the incumbents up to number 15 total, right, Judith? Does she have this one?
What was in the,
She has up to-
page 47.
She has up to this, so she only has up to Maria Pino? Okay, all right. Okay, so do we need to give her the rest, so she has the,
Yeah, I would ask her to,
is that appropriate for me to say that?
Yeah, if you would read
Is that
the
okay to
last,
do?
the ones that are not.
Judith, you have up through 11, right, in front of you?
Right.
All right, so you don't have 12, 13, 14, and 15, right?
So that's,
No.
Okay, so Kevin Marshall is an incumbent. He's put his letter in. Darcy Volpe, Laura Walters, and Whit Bourne. You know who Whit Bourne is, right? So those are the other four. He lives down on Dover Street, doesn't he? Isn't he the guy that lives on Dover Street?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, caretaker. Okay.
Did, Mr.
Yes.
There are people here that applied. Do you want to hear from any of them?
Sure.
Okay.
I know who you are, obviously. I don't know who you are, ma'am. Oh, okay. So you're number 11.
Number 10 on the 10 on the ballot.
10 on the ballot? Oh, okay. So number
I have
11.
to bring this down a little bit. So my name's Maria Pino. I live at 44 York Street. As
Yeah.
I wrote in my email, I am a frequent user of the bike paths. I run, I walk everywhere, especially since I live near the old mill. And I bike. And in my travels, I've thought about a lot of different ways to improve the system. Many of them are listed on your long-term plan. I was especially thrilled to see that someone had suggested putting the Surfside bike path running through Mill Hill Park. It just always makes me laugh when I see it end on Prospect and there's a crosswalk, and the crosswalk goes to the woods. So that's a great plan. I run down Vesper Lane, and I'm really disappointed that when they were planning the paving on Vesper Lane, that they didn't extend the bike path from Surfside to Hammock Pond Road. Anyway, so for all, just, a lot of people, I think, complain about things, and nobody brings them to a forum. And I just would like to be part of a group to make things better for visitors, people who live here full-time and whatnot. So that is why I submitted my name.
Well, I appreciate you. saying
Thank
what
you for your
said.
consideration.
I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
It's very important what you said, and we agree with you. Just so you know how this committee was formed, was to sort of focus, the planning commission focuses on bike paths constantly through its own process, but we broke out this group to sort of nail down bike paths, sort of, and not just bike paths, but bicycle issues, safety. There's a lot more than just bike paths. And it's been really good. I love this committee. I think this was one of the best things we've ever done. We've had a lot of input from people that really care about this. And it's hard to separate this issue at Planning Commission and sort of, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And it's a much better process.
Because it's all encompassing.
Right, exactly.
And I
Mike-
run into it too when I
And
use
by
it.
Mike being, being at all these meetings, just like he is with traffic safety, he's got his finger on all the different buttons with the town. So it's really important. So I appreciate that very
Great.
much. Does anyone else have anything for Maria? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nat, could you thank her again for coming in person? I really appreciate that.
Oh, I definitely thank you for coming in person. Thank you. Now, the lady up in the back, are you one of the people? I'm so sorry, I don't know. I know a lot of people, but I don't know everybody. So, sure, come on down. Oh, it's all good. We're very informal here, this meeting.
So I'm Laura Walters. I live at 42 Mycomet Ave. I agree with what Maria said. I'm a runner and a biker, and my second day here, I got hit by a bike. So maybe that was a sign. But it is I feel passionate about it. So for me, it's personal as well as I like to give back some of my time to the community. And I kind of was looking through stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really interested in that. Not interested in that. It's a very, how should I say? It's a for me. I came from a smaller place than Nantucket, so it's a larger place than some people are used to. But it's a very small community when you get into the heart of who does things. And I'm listening to all of you doing different committees, and I would like to be part of making some change here and helping things out. I have a daughter. Sorry, I couldn't get someone to take her a little while, but she's there are times when I'm scared to have her out on the bike paths just because of the roads it crosses. I have been a cyclist before, and I've taken my bike out twice here. I'm actually scared to get on the roads. As a cyclist, you really shouldn't be on the sidewalks. You should be on the roads, and I don't think there's a lot of understanding with sharing the roads.
Yeah,
So
agree.
that's something that I think is there's like leisure biking, then there's cycling, there's running, there's walking to school, walking for exercise, a lot of different uses that fall under biking and walking. And I think you have to look at different areas of that, I think, as well, with visitors coming on. I would love more people to bring bikes instead of cars. And, we need to understand that then you have the volume of the bikes, and especially in town where you don't have sidewalks for it, it's tough. It's tough getting off the ferries. There's like a pack of cars and bikes and people and dogs. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're not, it's fine.
But I really do have I'd like to do something about it rather than like.
It's a very
like I said,
passionate
sit
issue.
back and, instead of watching it
Yeah.
all happen, be part of it, so. So, thank you. Do you have any questions, or?
I just want to ask Mike a question, just to help with
Okay.
this. We're not, this, when we make these appointments, I mean, this isn't like us versus them, or for or against someone. We can't make the committee like 15 people.
No,
That's
I
the problem. We've ran into this before. We've increased it. We've done it with another committee on the island too, that's sort of advisory. Mike, input from someone like her, people that are interested, do people know that they can come to these meetings and participate? It's not like it's a private meeting, it's a public meeting. And any issue you have can be brought forward
Okay.
to this committee. That you don't have to, everybody can't be a member, but at the same time, there's a way to make a difference.
Yeah, to participate.
Yeah.
Still, yeah, okay.
And Mike's got an open door for people like you that are interested in this topic. You
Good to
know?
know.
So do you, I mean, is this?
No, that's
people
absolutely. We've
come to
definitely
these
had people
meetings?
from the public come in and attend meetings. I'll let Matt, Ian, or Harvey kind of speak from past experience, but I can't nail it down to a number, but we've had numerous people come, and just because they're interested in these kind of topics.
Especially in the
There's some
summer.
kind of new issue that comes out that not many people are aware of, but they are, so they share it with the rest of us. There's all kinds of opportunity to participate.
Yeah. Okay. That's
thank
good.
you. Okay.
You know staff, I mean, you know everyone here. Do you know Ian and Harvey and Jason? And I mean,
I was gonna say, I know a number of people.
Yeah.
That would be 0.
can we get people on a mailing list that are interested?
We do have that.
Like, okay. No, I mean email from you. Like, is that appropriate, Andrew? The people that are interested in this stuff? I mean, the stuff's in the paper, but you gotta read the paper to
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, because I didn't know there was a committee until I
Really?
saw it, and I was like, oh.
Oh,
that's-
boy.
yeah.
How many years have we been doing this now? 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah,
It's-
probably 7
It's
years.
in
I
that
think.
area.
Yeah.
I think the Red Sox have won the second World Series when we did this, not the third.
And that,
Yes.
there are alerts on the town website that you can sign up automatically, be notified when there's anything posted in connection with a given committee, or,
Okay,
so, for instance, if you need to know how to do that, you can ask us.
Perfect, okay. All right, thank you.
awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Laura.
All right. Yes.
For Judith's benefit, she should know that 3 other members are here in the audience as well.
Yes. We got Harvey's here, Ian's here, and Jason's here. Judith. Okay.
Thank you.
So is everyone ready to fill this out? Oh, I'm sorry, Harvey. I talk to you every time I see you. I'm so sorry.
I mean, there's a lot of captive audience. My name's Harvey Young. If I had known there were 15 people that were interested in being in this committee, I would not have put my name in. I've served. I've enjoyed doing it. I'm the bike guy, but I like that it helps with pedestrians, and there's a lot to do for pedestrians and bikes. If your list of names is alphabetical and I'm down near the bottom, I would be psyched to say get someone fresh on there. I know sometimes you can't get people on committees in Nantucket. I'd be happy to serve, but I would not feel bad if I didn't make it, and you have new, fresh faces that want to be on this thing. I think that's awesome. I've also been to enough of the meetings that I know that if there's something I'm interested in or passionate about, I could show up and throw in my 2 cents. So don't vote for me. Thank you.
Only have him say that.
That's a hard act to follow.
Boy, that is hard.
My name's Ian Golding, but I would like to be reappointed, please, because, having sort of been instrumental with a lot of help to put forward Article 71, I'd
Which
like
isn't
to
over yet.
continue with that, even though we had to withdraw it this year. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay,
So if they're ready for me to pick up, what staff will do is count up the votes, and then
So
we'll
we'll vote for
ask
Harvey or
Judith
not?
to
He'll show up.
Is that?
He'll show up if he's,
make
there's
her
things he's working on
nominations
anyway.
and
Yeah, I was just
we'll
saying,
get
make
off.
room for someone
Okay.
else.
Judith, did you okay down there? Did you follow everything that went on?
I did.
Okay.
The one thing I would ask you is, who is number 14? I didn't write that down fast enough.
14 Whitbourne?
Laura Walters.
Oh,
No, that's on the official vote.
I'm sorry. All right, well, all right,
We're looking at the
okay.
official vote.
Because
That's
it
what's
was
so
so
important.
Because it went till
Are you voting for Harvey?
Oh, I see why the numbers are off, because they've got Matt Fee listed as one of the 1 through
Right.
15s, that's why.
Correct.
Sorry about that. Okay, that's how that happens. Okay, same number total, different numbers.
Okay, I took Harvey's name off. That's what he wants.
What number is Laura?
Laura is number 13 on
Oh, was I
the,
supposed
on
to
the
sign my name
ballot.
on the bottom?
Yes, you were.
I'm sorry.
She's number, she's number 14
cross-outs.
on the MPNEDC memorandum piece.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
And
Seriously?
Matt doesn't count against the number.
Matt's not supposed to count as, he was just, he's already,
He would be the 7th.
be this,
Right.
right.
And Harvey just said he would, he'd step down for somebody else to get a turn. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
That's what he said. That doesn't mean I'm listening to him, but that's what he said.
Thank you.
I did. Took his name off. Yeah.
He's gonna show up there.
You want to read them, or do you want me to?
Gives him free will.
That's funny.
Make sure they're signed.
Yeah. I think it's good.
Yes, we got to read each one. I'll read it, you tally.
I think it's good. We need to spread
So
it
if
out.
we could have Judith cast her ballot, please.
Is that how this has to work?
Yes.
Okay. Judith, are you okay?
Yeah, you want me to email it to somebody or just say it?
Just say it.
say the names.
Just say it. Sorry, Judith.
Okay, I'm gonna read the names because I don't want to screw up the numbers.
Yeah.
So Campbell Sutton, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, and Laura.
It's 5.
Walters.
Need one more.
Oh, Jason.
Judith, did you want to cast a 6th vote, or are you going to stick?
Get one more.
You have 6, and then you have Matt.
Matt doesn't count, right?
No, you have to vote for him too. You have.
Dave Fredericks.
It's a total of 7. But,
She cast Dave Fredericks.
okay, so Dave, and
Sorry, I read over Dave Frederick by mistake.
then you have Matt as well. As the MPNEDC
Right, but
rep.
that doesn't count toward the 5th, right?
Right.
Right, it doesn't count for the 6th, that's
Matt
correct.
plus 6.
Yes,
Right, okay, so
Yeah.
Matt also.
yeah, okay.
Okay. Ready? I'm going to read the rest of these. Since there's no secret ballots, you all understand that, right?
Yep,
Jack Gardner votes for Campbell Sutton, Dave Fredericks, Harvey Young, Jason Bridges, Darcy Volpe, Laura Walters. Andrew Bennett, Dave Fredericks, Daniel DiMatteo, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Laura Walters. Am I going too fast, Mike? Okay. Leslie Johnson votes for Campbell Sutton,
Okay.
Dave Fredericks, Ian Golding, John Williams, Maria Pino, Laura Walters. Nat Lowell votes for Dave Fredericks, Harvey Young, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Kevin Marshall. Wendy Hudson votes for Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Kevin Marshall, Laura Walters, Whitfield Bourne. Matt Fee votes for Campbell Sutton, Dave Fredericks, Ian Golding, John Williams, Jason Bridges, Laura Walters. Dave Iverson votes for Campbell Sutton, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Kevin Marshall, Laura Walters. John Trudell votes for Harvey Young, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Kevin Marshall, Laura Walters. Fritz McClure votes for Campbell Sutton, Harvey Young, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, Laura Walters.
Mike, you got that in shorthand down there?
Yeah, I have everything. I have Mark Williams with 0. I have Campbell Sutton with 6. Dave Frederick with 6. Harvey Young with 4. Daniel DiMatteo with 1. Ian Golding with 9. Karen Nutt with 0. John Williams with 2. Jason Bridges with 9. Maria Pino with 8. Kevin Marshall with 4. Darcy Volpe with 1. Laura Walters with 9. And Whitbourne with 1. So if we're picking the top 6, it would be, I'm going to go with, let's see here, 9 with Ian Golding, 9 with Laura Walters, 9 with Jason Bridges, 8 with Maria Pino, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have 6 votes apiece with Dave Fredericks and Campbell Sutton. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 6.
Great. Perfect.
Do we have that for the?
So no ties?
Well, there was a tie for the 5th and 6th seats.
Not beyond that. Great.
Oh, so what do we do now with that?
You can make a motion to appoint Campbell Sutton, Dave Fredericks, Ian Golding, Jason Bridges, Maria Pino, and Laura Walters as the 6.
So moved?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Oh, sorry. And we got to do the roll call thing. I forgot. Okay. Yes, thank you, Judith. Jack.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Yeah. And Judith
Aye.
and Nat Lowell, aye. Okay, so that's unanimous for those 6, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pays to show up.
Congrats.
What I would like to just ask you, and Jason's here and these guys are here, consider, over the next year, if there's this much interest, whether we should increase it. The quorum issues, we did this with the right-of-way committee. It sort of worked for a while and kind of didn't. And I just don't know if that's going to happen again with this or not. We increased this one time, right, Jason? I think we went from 5 to 7, didn't we? Okay, I remember that. So I'm just saying that was in the beginning. This maybe it should go to 9.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's going to be a quorum problem. We have to make that's a big deal.
It could.
Yeah, because then you need 5 rather than 9.
It's in the off season. That's why I always ask, are people going to be here?
And I'll ask you that if you could take action on appointing an MPDC representative.
Oh,
Yeah.
we already.
Did you do?
That's Matt.
We did that in March or.
I don't know.
We just didn't formally do it, so I'll accept the motion for.
But
We
you can do
did.
it again, but we did.
I'll accept the motion for Matt to be the rep from MPDC.
I'll second that.
No. Okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
Now you can second.
Yeah, I second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Yep. Okay.
Aye.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Hi, Judith. Hi. Okay. Judith's aye, Eleanor. Hi, Jason. You okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and everyone in PDDC. I think if you guys end up staying at 7, the way we've ran it I've been the chair for 6 years.
Yep.
Anybody who shows up is kind of sitting at the table with us. They just
Right.
don't vote.
That's why I was saying
It's-
that.
It's
earlier.
been that way since the beginning. And It's
Yep.
gotten better the last couple of years. People show up and they're very helpful. Like John Williams, and he comes in almost every time now and helps. But I just want one suggestion was maybe quarterly having myself or the vice chair come and give an update to you guys of what we're talking about. And I mean, Mike can do it as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much for anybody who's kind of newer to the board, we look at current projects and we kind of go to Mike and say, how can we help? Can we go walk the road or the sidewalk? Can we, because we're an advisory committee, obviously. Look at future issues, projects, like we've been, I think the last 4 meetings looking at e-bike legislation, what's happening at the state, how that's going to affect us here, rentals, the different classes, what should we maybe suggesting to be put on an annual town meeting in 2020 or 21. And then also kind of opening up the channels. Having Rachel Hobart from Remain on there for 6 years has been really helpful, connecting with them. And just having people like Harvey just connected to the community. We've opened up channels for the little stuff because you guys are very bigger picture. Planning board is very bigger picture. We can go in and get granular. For example, last month we all went and walked Pleasant Street because that's
coming up for that.
We have design money
And
to
great
put a
thing.
sidewalk in an area where there's no sidewalk. So we went and walked it with DPW, with Mike Burns, and it's really interesting getting everybody's point of view. So I think we get into the kind of the nitty gritty a little bit to help you and everybody else. So thank you for voting me in, and Harvey, I'm gonna miss you. Please. Okay, you'll be there anyway. Yeah, I can answer any questions. If not, I know you guys got a big meeting.
Thank you very much, Jason, for
All right, thank
everything
you.
you do, too. Mike, is he talking about that piece of land, that open land, where they're gonna give us the sidewalks space?
I'm not sure if all
That big, huge piece of property that hasn't been built? They're gonna give us some land there for a sidewalk.
On Pleasant Street,
Pleasant, yeah.
Oh, great, good.
That's perfect.
where the artist is now, bending his leg.
Just after it, that big open land there with that white house in the back.
Yeah, and the guy is like this, painting on the easel.
So, okay. Andrew, thank you all, by the way, for your interest coming. We've never had such a big audience. Usually it's just, one person.
And now they're all walking out on you now. So.
And with that, thank you.
So,
Come again.
so on this census complete count committee, Andrew,
Mr. Chairman, on page 81 of your packet is a list of individuals, 9 individuals. There was an initial meeting. I've been having discussions, and Margaretta Andrews is here. Hello.
Yep. Had a feeling she was here for that.
She has generously offered their assistance to help with some of the scheduling and minutes and things like that, right? So the census is coming up in next April, Census Day. I've been attending some of the trainings at other regional planning agencies. I've talked to the town manager about it, and she would like us to handle this. So I would ask if we move ahead and appoint the 9 members plus myself, and I don't know if there's individual commission members that would like to be on this committee. There was some background included in your packet. I know that we're going to be talking outreach strategies and, to get the count out. There's some changes with the upcoming census where you can you'll be able to basically register online or by phone. So there's some new, some new methods which hopefully will help us. And of course, there's the remaining outstanding question about whether you're a citizen or not that is yet to be resolved.
Okay.
So.
And this doesn't have anything to do with the Remain project.
It has somewhat.
Data platform, excuse me, sorry.
It has somewhat to do with that, and I think there's a rep
I was looking for that, I don't see it.
It has somewhat to do with that because they worked with us to get the addresses. I mean, what's key to this is to get the addresses set in the various census blocks. And they did do an initial project for the town, and that's been incorporated somewhat in the work that Nathan Porter did and in our initial submission to the census. So
Another thing, you know, when we're talking about this, with the street list, and that all got hammered out. Matt's been around a long time, he knows what I'm talking about with this. There are a lot of people here that aren't on the street list because of some same reasons we're talking about with this. It's kind of a complicated sort of rationale, how this all happened, why you qualify for the excursion. So you don't qualify if you're not on the street list.
Right.
So you pay a one-way ticket. That's gonna end up coming up. I see Nancy's on here, so that's good because came from their office originally, the idea of it. But it has, on another hand though, it has been very helpful in other ways. Parking permits off island. We're enhancing some of that, I call it the crumb list with the steamship. You're gonna be able to bring your car back if it's parked in our lot. But you have to be on the street list to get that deal. Just to bring your car home for the summer. Right now, you can't do that. These are things we're trying to fix for locals, these little tiny things. So it's all sort of blended in with the street list. So keep that in mind, Andrew. If there's any change that needs to be made in that, in the name of common sense and change, okay? Just thought I'd throw that in.
So you're talking about giving incentives for people.
We want to get the car out of the parking lot over there for $1.90 a day. You know what I mean? And you see how long it's taken me to get them to think of that? And say, yeah, that's a good idea. It's not easy. It's not. Sounds simple, but it isn't. So, but as far as that goes, like you can't get, an excursion if you're not on the street list. Even if you've lived here for 15 years, you can't get it unless you're on that street list. So that's some of these things that are sort of why we have the data platform. How many people really live here, right? So same thing. So is there anything else, Andrew, on this?
Margaretta, do you want to say
Do you
anything?
have anything? Are you okay?
No, I just, community foundations across the country are kind of providing this consensus and gathering the community to address the issue. So I think, working with the town, working with the Civic League, we can come up with some strategies where we hope, a really complete map. Because there's some serious dollars involved here.
Right, so this would supersede this traditional census. Fritz has asked this a lot. Would this be like a real number that the state recognizes through this program?
This is an effort to make sure that as many people that are going to, register themselves through the census are sort of contacted and encouraged to do it.
Yep.
It does not, the data platform is a totally separate thing, and that number is not going to be accepted.
I know that. That's
Right.
why I'm asking.
This is a specific, again, there's different methodologies, but we need to follow the census methodology, and the key to that is to make sure people know about it, know the different ways on how they register themselves, and to make sure they're aware of it in different languages and, in addresses where, what did you tell me earlier, that they didn't even do a mailing? Which,
Apparently in the 2010 census, they did not mail any ballots during census material because Nantucket was deemed a high risk for returns because of seasonality. So it was all door to door. There were no actual physical. Wow. So, this is the kind of thing that we have to, we hope, proactively prevent for the 2020 census.
Interesting. They assume something.
No one's home.
Wow.
You don't get a vote.
Okay. So,
When are they gonna, when do they actually do the census? What time of year?
April.
April, so every year.
well, the people that are year-round are gonna be here in April. Is that, I don't know if that's.
So at least it's not January.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone else have anything?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So, Nat mentioned, there are perks to being on the street list.
Yeah.
When you make sure that all of those things are kind of known to people. So, I mean, it would be like, I don't want to pick out certain things, but just things that they might be available for through the town or the state that require you to be on the street list or be a
So
resident.
incentive.
The thing I don't, unfortunately, Nat, you've kind of got this a little bit mixed up
No, you
here
got it.
because
Probably.
the U.S. Census is only used by the U.S. Census. We
Yeah.
can't share information at all. The main benefits that I see, there's certain federal programs, the school lunches and other things that, and I think that's part of the, some of the social programs and other things that are population-based. But the key concern has been, you know, that I talk to a census taker and now that information is shared with other agencies or the town, and it can't be. It's that information and all of our work with the census, we're required to destroy the materials after and not, share that. So, but it's, the key is to get people to understand the benefit of, even if you're not going to sign up for the local street list, you need to, participate with the census.
Okay.
Can I just ask
Yes.
a question about the anonymity of it? I mean, I see a giant risk that people would not report themselves. I wouldn't if I was a member of some parts of our community in this political climate with immigration. And you've got some really great people on this list to reach out, but, I would, and I think that they would believe in the need for, a lot of services and things like that, but it's gotta be really a lot of reassurance.
Yep.
I don't know how I don't know if I'd be assured, I don't know if I would believe it.
So the outreach has to be very targeted, very specific, very compelling.
Because ultimately it is individuals decide whether they're going to do it or not.
And they report their name and address, I mean, yeah.
So,
And those are the same people that are gonna benefit from the federal money that we may see if they report to us.
Yeah.
It's how to get them.
And the residential exemption. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this.
different
How?
residential,
No? Okay.
different program.
Okay.
This is federal census, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Nothing to do with our taxes.
All right. Figured something else, but, okay. So you need a vote here, Andrew, for this, to just reconfirm these people and adding you?
I'd like you
that in
to
one
appoint the people, these 9 people, and add me, since it's one of my goals. So
Okay.
I'd like to be part
Okay.
of what's going on.
So anyone want to do that? You have a motion?
I'll
Don?
I'll make a motion to appoint all the people on the list, including Andrew.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Judith, aye. So, Jack, sorry.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye. Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy, that's an aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Hi, Judith. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Dad.
Thank you, Judith, very much. We got it. Okay. Mike, we're finally getting to your regular stuff, and Derek's probably going off a pizza and come back and didn't even miss a beat.
The delicious pie.
See that?
You got it delivered, you didn't have to worry about
Happy?
Eric, aye.
Okay. So Mike, you want to take us through the,
Sure, there's 2 planning documents that are coming to the end of public review, and both need to be approved. The first is the Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan. At your May meeting, you authorized the release of this for public review. Staff has met with various stakeholder agencies to identify if there's any additional needs or if that was the needs that were identified in this plan were sufficient, and those were the Commission on Disabilities, Council on Aging, Council on Human Services, and we actually didn't meet with the Healthy Community Collaborative, so that I should take that off as a bullet. But the Council on Aging actually did endorse the needs that were included in the plan, and those are essentially to investigate other more affordable, flexible transportation options and programs for the elderly and disabled. That essentially means potential programs through transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft, coordinating with those types of companies to provide a subsidized transportation option for the elderly and disabled. Another need was increasing the number of accessible parking spaces downtown. Continued replacement of demand response vehicles, so there's a modern fleet of vehicles. Implement accessible sidewalks in downtown area and to the bus stops, and that was something that was expanded. The scope of that point was expanded to include the downtown area as well as bus stop area, vicinity bus stops, and then obviously continued implementation of bus shelters at fixed route stops. Again, this was endorsed by the Council on Aging. Since there's no significant public comments made during this time period, staff recommends that the NPDC take action to approve the 2020 Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan and authorize the chair to sign the endorsement.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Do we have to close the public review or no?
You can take any public comment.
Oh, no, I understand, everyone left, but I'm just making sure, is there an open review or is that already closed?
It would probably be good to close the public review and then
Okay,
to endorse.
I'm just making sure, and would that close everything?
Just for this particular plan, we'll go on to the transportation
All
plan.
right, so
next.
I'll accept a motion to close the review.
Move to close the public review for the Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Judith? Aye.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John?
Aye. John, no, aye, I'm sorry.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Hi, Judith. Yep. Okay, Eleanor, so go ahead, Mike. So you want to endorse the plan?
Approve it, right?
Approve it?
A motion to approve and then authorize the chair to sign the endorsement.
So I would move that we approve the plan and authorize the chair to sign it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Hi, Judith. Thank you. Senior parking spots, I'm like, what's that gonna be like?
More accessible
interesting.
handicap parking spaces downtown.
Good, I like that idea. Okay. The long-range transportation plan update, Mike?
Sure. As you know, this is, at your May meeting, you authorized the release of the document for public review. Since the release of the draft document, staff has presented to the Select Board, Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and Commission on Disability, and received endorsements from various various sections of the plan from Roads and Right-of-Way, Traffic Safety, and Council on Aging. Staff has made various spelling grammatical edits. One of those being from that were made at the last meeting, and I just want to go over those, that it did affect the prioritization of projects by changing the Old South, the Four Corners, and then the Old South Road at Fairgrounds intersection from a status E to an F, an E to a D. So that upped the priority of those based on the sorting of projects based on readiness, and then the scoring. So that has been corrected in the plan. We also got a letter from the Housing Nantucket, and that's included in the packet. And that was just a reminder that Miller Lane, an easement was granted for a multi-use path between Old South Road and Airport Road through that Miller Lane corridor. So that's been added to the plan. It's been scored and then based on objective criteria and then prioritized. And we have it as the 23rd priority of all the projects. So that's been corrected to be included in the plan. Mass DOT, and Derek had mentioned this, that they're still reviewing the plan. We expect to get a comment letter. There were no significant changes, but some corrections do need to be made. And since there are no significant changes to the content from staff or from the public, staff recommends that the NPDC take action to close the public review period and to approve the 2020-2040 long-range transportation plan with the additions of a Miller Lane multi-use path to the plan and edits that will be suggested by Mass DOT, and authorize the chair to sign the endorsement.
Mike, can I ask Andrew a question through you?
Sure.
Well, through whoever, me, I guess. Andrew, Miller Lane bike path. This is huge. When did we do this? Because that wasn't part of when we made those lots, was it?
It was prior to that.
It was?
Yeah, the land, remember Miller Lane was basically 80 feet wide.
Yeah.
And the majority of that land was granted to the land bank. And before the land was deeded out to Housing Nantucket, easements were reserved for a future bike path connection, or multi-use path.
I don't remember that. I remember the controversy, but I don't remember that.
No, and actually, in part of the Richmond plan, part of the key to that was to make sure that there was a connection into that, if you think back.
It makes me feel a lot better about just the whole thing of how this all happened. Jack remembers that road was supposed to be to the next Logan Airport. It's down on Straight Wharf now.
Right up to the airport entrance, that was given to the town.
Larry's father, right?
Airport Road.
Yeah.
Right, and the thing is, we saved a lot of traffic on Old South Road today. If we used it as it was given to us.
Well, I supported what they did, but I didn't know about this bike path. This changes things. I like that. I didn't know we did that.
So the Miller Lane past Little Isle Lane was laid out as a public road, and then it comes to a dead end, but then it continues on easements for the sewer that are under there.
Yeah,
There's basically
pressure main there, too.
pressure main is under there, and the expectation is that the land bank and the town would work together to establish a
Public access.
an off-road path that would connect, and that there's a connection into Richmond, and where it comes out is near where the bus stops are.
This is good.
So
great. Excellent. I love it.
All right.
That's good. This is great. So does anyone else have anything? I'll accept the motion to close the public review period.
Yes, I'd move to close the public review period for the long-term transportation plan.
So second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Judith? Hi, Judith. Okay.
Aye.
And so Jack, back to roll call again.
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? Aye. Okay, so I'll accept the motion to approve the long-range plan.
Yeah, I would move that we approve the long-range plan, subject to additions regarding Miller Lane. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And edits noted, that Mike noted in his preliminary comments.
From DOT, from Mass
From
DOT.
DOT.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then authorize.
Authorize the chair to sign, yep. And Judith, are you okay?
Sorry, and authorize the chair.
Aye.
Excellent. Jack, Andy,
Andy Bennett, aye.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye, and Judith.
Aye.
Thank you, Judith. Okay. And you have a little housekeeping, Mike, on the UPWP?
Yes, quarterly, we like to align the time used on particular projects and allocate time where there's some left over to other priorities. I'm told that parking management may not be a priority for the town to pursue, so that's one of the significant tasks where time is being removed out of. 42 hours has been, which doesn't leave really any time left for parking management, and that's being moved down to implementation of approved planning recommendations. That's really the most significant change, but we do need action from the board to approve this reallocation of hours.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Mike? Otherwise,
Yeah, I have a question. Who chose to take parking management out, and what's the rationale for it?
Well, we were updated on the Board of Selectmen, your updated goals and objectives, and that you're moving away from the parking commission at this time, that you were moving towards a discussion about paid parking Isn't that correct?
So, somewhat, not to the point of not doing this, I don't believe. Not to the point of reallocating, and it's interesting, all right? I don't understand it the way it's being presented myself.
Okay, because, I mean, this, after the meeting, we had a debriefing of what was discussed. And I went away with that clear impression. If I'm incorrect,
I'll come back next time.
We can hold it over then?
Yeah, I'll come back.
we can hold it over,
Okay.
right?
I think we should.
Okay, we'll hold it over then. Do we have to take a vote for that?
Continue.
You want to continue, Mike, or?
Yeah, we can continue if it needs clarity. I think we're fine for one more month.
Okay.
Sure.
So we can just leave it? We don't have to?
Take no action.
Take no action, okay. All right. The Amelia Drive.
Can you just hold on
Oh,
one second?
I'm sorry.
Just trying to-
So do you want a clear motion to continue, Andrew? Should we do that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll
So,
make a
Greg,
motion to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Fred seconded.
Okay. Aye. Judith, Jack, Andy?
Oh, I'm Bennett, aye. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Fuller, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Matt Fee, aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith?
Aye.
Thank you, Judith. I'm getting good at this now that we're almost done. So the Amelia Drive, Andrew, just take us through this. And what page do we go to where the meat and potatoes are?
The preferred alternative, I believe, is page 109.
Okay. All right.
So basically, I think as you all remember, this section of Amelia Drive between two public roads, between Old South Road and Tacoma, was a priority. The county commissioners acted and made this a public way. We've had 2 sessions with property owners and with the DPW about an approach to take here. We looked at a number of options. Those were discussed, and where we're at is basically I guess we're keeping the existing traveled way for traveled way purposes and inserting on-street parking in key locations which don't affect the existing tree cover. So the trees are in good shape. They've been maintained after years of deferred maintenance. And I think in the end, when you look at all of the activity that's occurring in this particular block, that this is a good outcome. The sidewalks, I guess also, Mike, we're talking about reconstructing the sidewalks on each side, is that right?
Correct. They're existing 4-foot wide sidewalks, which are substandard. They need to be at minimum 5 feet in width. So the sidewalks on the north side of the road would be that minimum of 5 feet in width. The sidewalk on the south side of the road would be 8 feet in width to accommodate more users.
And I guess to date, we know there's been, a total of, I believe, $2.8 million for capital improvements on Waite Drive in this particular area. So there may be supplemental needs. It's something that wouldn't proceed right away. But did we talk to Rob about a schedule? I can't remember.
I think we'd wanted to have the select board endorse the preferred option, and then soon after that, we would start the engineering plans. This is purely conceptual, so we would need preliminary and then final plans developed for the corridor.
And we will need easements from property owners, which we did get an indication that they were favorable.
Correct.
So.
And those that weren't favorable, we kept the sidewalk closer to the edge of the roadway, so we didn't impact their property within the utility easement that we would like to repurpose as a utility and sidewalk easement.
Right.
That one area is highlighted up on the plan there, where we'll keep the sidewalk next to the edge of the roadway instead of providing stalls for on-street parking.
Right, and I think in the end, we were able to do 32 spaces on the road.
Correct.
Andrew, do you want to mention those access points? Is that appropriate or? I see the one up there, I can see it.
There's one access point that we negotiated through the planning board, and that is the property that's shown as the Comfort Storage LLC, which is the marijuana facility. So on the left-hand side, so an outbound, we have a 10-foot easement that was granted to them, so that provides access back into the parking area. We have not finalized, but we've had a discussion about another purchase of property on Amelia, which would provide access and affordable housing in the same, would provide both. That's still the subject of executive session, so I can't get into the specifics about that right now, but, and then we have commitments from other property owners, again, to provide at least pedestrian access, to integrate that. Again, it's a large, I mean, that particular kind of a subdivision with one long road with no extensions is really kind of dated, and you wouldn't really see that today. Generally, you want a connection every 500 feet to other land. So, but we do have commitments from property owners, and I think overall we had good cooperation from the area property owners throughout the process.
Absolutely.
Mike, I guess I can ask you. So everybody kind of wanted to keep the trees? I mean, you know.
After reviewing the trees
Once
with
they
the.
saw how it would look and the bumps and all that.
I think the most significant input we got was from the tree warden, Dave Shampoo, who basically selected which trees should not move, and that's how the parking was configured to go around or avoid taking away those trees.
It's good.
Right.
I mean, I like it. I mean, you don't need to have, you know, full-blown, you know, 11 feet travel lanes, no. I mean, if on-street parking, you can't, you need, what about speed humps? Are we gonna have a couple humps? Like Lily Street, like North Shop? I mean, I think that's maybe not in the plan for the first round, but maybe as a partial concept towards, you know, after a year, or after a season, or.
The town's policy has been that if the speeds are documented to be 5 miles an hour above the posted speed limit, meaning that if this is a 25-mile-an-hour street, which it is, every street, if it's not posted, is 25 miles an hour, we find that the 85th percentile is 30 miles an hour. Most people are driving 30 miles an hour up and down this road. Then that warrants the application of speed humps. If you don't have that, then it's not warranted. Wow. So I think this would be just a trial, see what the speeds are along the road. If it's a problem, then address it.
Well, my opinion is right now there are cars parked on the road, so you have, it almost is a natural slowdown to go weave in and out. Once we eliminate the off-street parking that you have designated, it's just going to be a free lane, and I think you'll see a lot of speeds pick up.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thought to keep that in mind with the speed bump or two.
Sure.
That might come into play later.
We have so many roads that like Westchester Street, that used to be the truck route, believe it or not. I mean, you can't drive on Westchester Street without pulling into somewhere. Somebody has to pull over. I mean, this is gonna be like that, but better than it was. And I think this is good. I'm glad we're not just blowing up the trees and making it, you know, wherever. This is good.
Same thing.
Everybody gets kind of angry about, you know, why aren't we fixing it? But then no one knows what, you know, wasn't really that easy to figure out. I think this is good. The one-way idea, and it sounds good, but then when there's plenty of room and there's not much traffic and you say you can't drive both directions, you think it's crazy. So I think this is good. I'm glad that we're doing this.
Good. The final report will be ready for a next meeting. I think that's when we'll ask the commission to accept the study, and that way we can close.
So
up
we don't
the
have to
agreement.
do anything tonight.
I don't believe we,
Okay.
unless you wanted to endorse this as a preferred option, but I don't think we have the final report in just yet. You may want to review that at a future meeting.
Okay. So we'll just hold it over then? when you put it on the agenda or whatever, right?
Sure.
It may not be ready for the next meeting, correct?
It should be
If we
ready
have
in the
one.
next week or two.
Oh, it will, okay.
Oh, yeah, just
Okay.
wasn't ready for this meeting.
Okay, so we don't need any kind of motion because it says review, so we're good.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that's good, Mike. I'm glad because it didn't start out so easy, did it?
There's been harder projects, yeah. There's been easier projects.
It's a tough part of town down there. So, all right. So Barry's here, and we're going to recognize his service to the town. And you want to say a few things, or I can certainly say a few things. It's been a pleasure to work with Barry. When I started out as an alternate, I kind of forgot what year that was. I think it was 05, how that worked. And I'll never forget the first project we sat on was the Brotherhood, that I was sort of tail ending. And sitting with Aaron Makovich and Joanne Holgate, and I'm like, we're arguing about parking? I just know where the manager's car parks. And now we're looking at the Roberts house, and that's where I get all my thinking of, like, what are we doing? And then they want to do the outside seating, and I remember saying, okay, this restaurant has outside, this restaurant has outside, this restaurant, and then they never did, and now they do. And I remember that clearly at those meetings. Been a pleasure for me to work with Barry and the previous people, Frank, Donald. Frank was a mentor type to me, in my opinion. We use his quotes all the time, especially about this board and how it works. And it is confusing. Derek, sorry about that, but it is confusing for some of us. Still confusing for me. So, Andrew, do you have any plans for recognition?
Well, I think a motion would be in order for, to authorize the chair to sign a letter of appreciation and work with staff to get that finalized.
Yes, go ahead, Fritz.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've only served a short period of time with Barry, but a small community, especially in Nantucket, with all of the things going on, requires volunteerism. And Barry has been a volunteer for the community for a long period of time. And I just want to say we all really owe him a debt of thanks for being willing to spend that much time in that many years. I'm not sure how many it is, but it's a long time. And longer than most of us would be able to do it, I think. And I respect anybody who is willing to spend that much time on behalf of the community without a whole lot of thanks, and in many cases just the opposite. So thank you, Barry.
Agreed.
I'll pile on one more compliment along that line. I just want to thank Barry for helping when I first got involved with the chainsaw bylaw, and a lot for me. That was great. But one thing he said that I'll never forget was that, like, working as much as we all do, he said, Sunday's my town day. And that's when he read everything, like all day long, you'd like to read. I'm like, how do you keep up with this amount of work? This is insane. He's like, well, Sunday's my town day. And that is exactly what you just said, you guys, the amount of commitment that I never forgot that. And, and it's kept me from doing more at times. I'm like, you can't do that.
I need my Sunday off.
Yeah, it's a lot. So just wanted to add that little thank you.
And hopefully he's still around volunteering. There's a lot of things out there to do. So I'll accept a motion for a letter of recognition and some possibly other piece of wood.
Chocolates.
Not a chair.
An appropriate memento.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make that motion, whatever it turns out to be.
So we all rotate off at some point. What
Yeah.
are we gonna want?
Yeah, exactly. 25.
25?
25.
If you'd like to I'd like to make that motion to offer a letter of recognition to be formed and other ideas to be presented by staff that might be appropriate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You want to do roll call? Hi, Judith. Sorry, do we need to do the roll call for this too? Andrew, I guess we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything.
Okay, Jack, I guess we gotta do it.
You did it, you're
Oh,
because
Fritz
of
before?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson.
FBI.
Dave Arson, aye.
Wendy Hudson, aye.
Nat will I. And Judith?
Hi.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Gary.
That was actually quite unexpected. So thank you. That really wasn't why I was here tonight. Thank you. That means a lot, and it's really been a pleasure to serve with all of you as well too. It's been fun. It's been hard to reflect that it's been 20 years. My God, where's the time go? I can only tell that when I look in the mirror in the morning. Someone else is staring back at me. But anyways, I want to say thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to serve with all of you. I know we've had our challenges at times as well too, but I think in the end analysis that what makes our decisions a little bit stronger and a little bit more well thought out in the process. So gone for not forgotten. Trust me, I've already tried to get my fingers into other things. So still keep going at this point. But thank you all. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Barry.
Now you're just going to make me blush. But thanks.
Good. That's what makes us different. Okay, the staffing review, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So starting on page 115 of your packet is basically the progress tracking sheet that I'm using with the town manager. We have not met yet on this, but again, I'm sharing it with you before I talk to her, which will be on Wednesday. But I can certainly walk you all through this if we'd like to go through it.
Does anyone have any specific questions, or do you want to just brief us, Andrew, a little bit?
I can briefly go through it if you want. So starting on page 115, again, we have 2 studies completed by Novak. The first one was a general staffing study for the entire town. The second one was specific to the PLUS operations. So item 1, which was to include more responsibility for code enforcement issues, this was in regard to the new building commissioner, so that's been completed. There's nothing further to do on that. He is now integrated into code enforcement. The senior planner position, we've been trying to fill that, so it's been funded, but we have not had an applicant base for this at all. We've had really no applicants. We tried at the national convention, which is usually where we get candidates come forward. That's where we hired Mike and Leslie and some other people, but nothing yet. So we are re-advertising, including at an upcoming Massachusetts-based session that's occurring in Western Mass. We'll see if we get any interest. Tracking workload metrics to evaluate further staffing needs. One of the items that I came away with, and I believe the consultants agreed, that we didn't need any new staff. We are tracking metrics, but there is no need for new staff right now other than the filling that one position. So with the integration of the support staff, so they're cross-trained, I mean, there's not a need to fill individual positions. So there's no new staff positions being requested. Cross-training building inspectors for zoning enforcement. Again, this is ongoing, and there have been recent sessions where our local inspectors are going to training for zoning enforcement. So again, this is moving away from one person only doing zoning enforcement to all the inspectors are able and willing to do enforcement as necessary. So they enforce building code as well as zoning matters. Questions on that, Leslie?
No, I'm just looking at you and hearing you and saying, great, and will there be feedback to exactly what they have discovered or how they relate back?
Yeah, yes.
That's all in place.
Yes, and there's a specific, again, it's important for them to know that there's specific timelines associated, there's a 14-day period when we get a zoning enforcement request.
And
There's
then
a-
that's followed up with and.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is all new things that have been implemented.
That's great.
Tracking and basically to make sure the loop is closed on it, where it wasn't so much before. The schedule to appropriately support front counter operations is something that was brought up by past staff. It's something that the current support staff do not feel is necessary. If you've been in the office, you see that there's 5 of them that work as a team. They've positioned their desks so they're all together, and there's no need for, a formalized schedule to cover the front desk. It's covered. Reconfiguring the office layout to separate the staff area from the public entrance. Again, it's really not possible in the current layout. Basically, the public that enters the building is there to do work, and there's a table in the middle that you may be familiar with. It's important that that work is done under public review because there are files that people are looking at and everything else. In a new building, that certainly could be addressed, and that's something that came up in a broad townwide space needs issue, but there's basically, that's a 1968 building designed as an electric company. We're going to do the best we can in there, and
It works out.
what you see is kind of what works best under that circumstance. Developing existing administrative procedures, this is really a matter of documenting kind of what we're doing already. I'm giving this a third quarter implementation. It's really not possible with the current workload to start getting into this. And again, we have a staff that's, worked on cross-training. It's not like they need to always look at a manual. It's something really for the future. And when we can carve out some time, we'll be doing that. Third quarter is what we're talking about. Formal program to cross-train administrative. Again, this is really an on-the-job training for the staff. So again, this particular notion, is somewhat related to the existing administrative procedures, but it's not really something that's, again, it's a small office. It's not really where we have an opportunity. We don't have segregated type jobs. You really need to learn a lot about everything in that office. So I'm not really sure that this is something that is going to be a priority. Standardized process for scheduling inspections is completed. That's now all covered in a database. And the last 2 items, the inspection and the implement the EnerGov software, are part of the overall EnerGov town-wide effort. It's not something that we can do independent of the town. That's a town-wide project. And again, our staff is certainly interested in it and wants to make it happen, but it needs to come through the entire operations of the town. Certainly Holly and some of the other people wanted to see this quite some time ago. So there's no effort to not do it. It's just a matter of getting the other resources from the IT and other departments to move on it. What's that?
There are a lot of moving parts to it.
Yes. Any questions on that section? So moving on to Novak 2.
Do you want to go on that back one, or do you want to do that afterwards? 116.
The back one is actually out of sequence, so
Okay,
we'll
sorry.
start at the top of page 117.
Okay.
So to strengthen the relationship between the town manager, director of planning, that's basically something we're talking about tonight, and something that I've shared with you about how we're going to be tracking going forward. In terms of the consolidating the town's environmental and sustainable functions, that's really not anything that's part of our particular mission. It's really up to the town. There's new positions being created, and where they go and where they live is something that I'm not aware that is something destined for Plus at this point. We'll have to see where that goes. The review team by the assistant town manager, again, that's something that needs to be assigned to somebody. From my conversations with, I thought this person would be Greg Tivnan, but I think it's going to be a new hire that isn't established yet. So again, that's put off to the third quarter. Providing guidance to the boards in an effort to clarify the development process. So we talked a little bit about this idea of a sequential, that boards can only look at different applications in some sort of line, and that's just really not possible. Basically, there are different laws and procedures that affect all the different commissions, and who applies. You can't really tell someone, oh, I'm not going to hear your application at the Conservation Commission until the Planning Board rules on it. Because there may be reasons, basically, that you want a Conservation Commission related question answered first before you continue on.
That's come up before. That even came up.
It has. It was voted on it, and it was voted down at town meeting.
Yeah.
And again, I've discussed this with the building commissioner, and we do not understand how this possibly would be implemented without special legislation.
Yeah. I mean, the problems that you have are better than the problems you create. That's the problem with something like this. I mean, like when people come in like this, last week we had something, the Westmore. They have a lot of stuff that they have to do before that's approved. They haven't gone to Concom and they haven't gone to HGC.
No.
But I mean, it's just, there isn't any other answer, to that, really.
So no sequential order of what board you go to first. It's just, can't do it.
No, I wouldn't, because we get them all the time where
Yeah.
people are sort of feeling it out before they
Yeah.
spend a ton of
Right.
money and
Yeah.
time. before
Right.
They want to go to the hardest one first, or
Yeah.
whatever. The lawyers are giving them advice, the surveyor.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
The hard part, I think, with some of it is built. Ends up being expectations built. Is if they say they pick off a couple easy ones, and then they come to us, like some of it ends up at the select board level saying, "Hey, we've already been approved here and here. Why aren't you guys giving it to us?"
Yeah.
And I think that's so
Well,
somehow the communications would be better. I'll use the the stuff that's going to go on down on Robert's house.
Yeah.
Right now I think they're sort of moving along, but I'm not sure if anyone's told them that area, that building has already been denied a liquor license. It was already denied once. So they're moving forward with a 150-seat restaurant and a bunch of impacts, which may or may not be sorted, and it might so they may spend a lot of time and money and then get to the select board level and be told, wait a minute, someone else didn't get it here, why would you think you would? I'm not sure that's what's gonna happen, I'm one voice there. But so somehow, the question is, how do you make it so people either don't do all that, or they don't cherry pick and pick the right thing? So there has to be a way to improve it without.
I do think that the development discussion group, would get to that. Because again, they're going to talk about major applications that have come forward. But again, I don't think that can then go to, people have the right to fill out an application in accordance with the regulations and get a ruling one way or the other.
And I'm agreeing with that. What I'm saying is, I think I'm giving the sort of the rationale for why people are saying, is there a way to do it?
Communication, yeah.
Because it's things, they get a life of their own, and it's sort of, you've invested so much in it, and we can't, anyway, makes it hard to
Yeah, I
say
think
no.
a lot of people think if they get 2 yeses, that the next one's gonna be a yes, and it's not necessarily so. Just,
Yeah, I mean,
they're all
you can
different
talk
reasons.
about like hours of service, the noise, the bylaw. I mean, we've had a lot of things come in like that we approve something, but we tell them now. There's a little bit more. I think we're a little more clear on that, especially with some of the more controversial, like the West End, or how many times it's changed. You know, where it comes in and we say, well, we think 10, but you may not get that. You know, and they're getting advice. They know, their attorney knows that they're not a slam dunk at everything. I mean, Meat and Fish isn't a slam dunk, that's for sure. Nice building though.
Which
Beautiful.
one's Meat and Fish?
Meat and Fish, right up
Amelia Drive.
Oh,
You know, so, but,
why they
so
want
anyway.
the license.
So Andrew, that makes sense. I mean, it's sort of an unfixable problem that may come up occasionally, but isn't big enough to fix, because now you're breaking it.
You should take some away.
You know, there's no way to really fix
It's not workable. Technology, the enhanced availability of development process information is something we have scheduled for second quarter, so something that we'll be working on beginning in September. The process improvements, again, that's an EnerGov subset. The development administrative approval process for routine HDC requests. This is something that I've discussed with our staff member. This requires a home rule petition. So it does require altering the special act for the HDC, and it's something that I've outlined with him for the upcoming town meeting.
This is beyond consent stuff.
It's, again, like with the Zoning Board of Appeals, for example, they have the ability by a supermajority to delegate certain minor things to their zoning administrator.
Yeah.
So that's the basic idea that we're looking at, that there would be some sort of ability for the HDC to delegate roof colors, certain in-kind replacements to the individual administrator. So that's the concept we're working on, and that is a concept, I mean, that's within the power of historic districts that have been created through the statewide legislation. Remember, we have a special act, not it's 40C, I believe, is the statewide. And any historical commission created under the statewide basically has that authority already. So it's something that obviously is going to need discussion with the HDC and with the staff member, but it's something that we're willing to work on. Formal process and strategies for ensuring zoning compliance with all conditions of approval. This is, again, something that I've discussed with the new building commissioner. It's something we intend to initiate by the third quarter, where there's a regular review of Leslie, in fact, had developed a complete list of all special permits, highlighting certain special conditions, and it's something that we want to be implemented on an annual or semi-annual basis. Something the building commissioner certainly agrees with. So there would be, annual checks into some of these conditions to make sure we're still in compliance. So I think that's positive. And again, we already talked about the cross-training in the safety and code compliance. Communication, so in terms of regular department and division-wide staff meetings, we already have a monthly staff meeting of the management group. We have regular, if not, completely scheduled in advance meetings with the clerical group. And, if you read the report, we've done team building exercises with the whole group. So I think this is pretty much covered, but we can certainly update you on the individual meetings that take place by month. And then finally, the governance and structure. I've reached out and we've tentatively talked about a fall joint meeting with the select board. So that's where we are on that.
Okay, anyone have any specific questions, Fritz?
Just a comment. I think it'd be helpful, and I'm sure you're probably planning on it already, but some of these are quarterly projects or whatever that you just have on your agenda to put on the agenda for us, a periodic kind of report of where we are, update
Yep.
of where we are. That'd be great. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? So, Andrew, do we have to take any action, or is this, because this is going to be sort of an ongoing, as Fritz just said, sort of a
Yeah, an ongoing
type
with
of thing.
periodic updates.
Okay. All right, so the next thing, the MOU, 2012. We talked about that at the last meeting, that would be on the agenda and discussed, and a copy was sent out if everyone has ever seen it or read it. So,
So, Mr. Chairman, on page 126 of your packet is the MOU, and I have jotted down some of my thoughts on potential changes. It's something that I don't have any finality on yet. I did speak to the town manager about it. She didn't have time to give individual comments on it, and it may be something that ultimately we discuss as part of our joint meeting, but maybe there's other thoughts that people want to think about to get together. For, at least for discussion, on page 126, I think the language under number 1 needs clarification, which how it uses the word handled, which, is open to broad interpretation, I think. I think that question about reporting needs further clarification. I know what the intent of that was related to plus type activities. I think there's a little bit on page 127, item 4, which talks about the term of the agreement, which under item 4 there, it talks about that the term goes until it's terminated by the town of Nantucket, whereas the termination of the agreement under 5.3 below talks about a mutual termination of the agreement. So I think that's worth looking at.
And then I think there's another conflict on that. What was it? I'll keep going. I'll find it. I think it's.
we were under the thought that we had to have 17, well, now it would be 16 members between the select board and the commission. And then it says town of Nantucket. What does that mean? Does that mean the selectmen? Does that mean, that's what you're saying, right, Andrew?
Right.
Two different sort of.
Right, I believe that means termination by the town of Nantucket acting through the.
It's vague.
Acting through the select board, right.
Yeah,
So.
I would say it would be the BOS, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Right.
But the other point under 5.3, may mutually terminate this agreement. Does that mean if Andrew agrees and wants to terminate and the select board say no, or vice versa, do you not terminate? I'm just saying that's the other part that's not clear.
Well, yeah.
If you both agree, that's easy, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
But if one agrees and one doesn't, how do you act?
Is it the majority of 16 or is it the majority of?
Well, again, it's not me disagreeing. It's not me.
No, I know
It's,
you're not. I'm
it's
just
the
saying.
town and the NPNEDC. So, but I think that's correct. It's like if the,
That's 16
So
people.
that needs
That's
to be
enough.
cleaned up.
yeah.
That's not right.
So I think that's
Figure it out.
something that needs clarification.
So we could have Andrew, Judith is right there. I think she's, do you hear what we're saying, Judith? Do you have a copy, right?
Yes, I was about to jump in and offer comments.
No, go ahead, Judith.
I think for sure it needs to be clear about termination by the town of Nantucket. If I read that, I would have thought that meant the select board, not the NPDC.
Correct.
But because this is kind of a three-cornered agreement, that surely needs to be addressed. I think probably too it would be when you don't say grounds for termination, then if there's a dispute, you get into issues about for reasonable cause, for any cause, for one thing or another of that type. So I think that you're right about cleaning up related matters. I think it would be really helpful before we jump into it too, that particularly if you're meeting with Libby, Andrew get her thoughts on it, or possibly get, I don't know whether this was reviewed by legal counsel at the time it was adopted, but I think for everybody's protection and insight, it would be important for somebody to be sure if there's anything else that needs to be addressed, because, for example, there could be questions of, I know you're not an independent contractor, but in a sense you're working with NPDC, and with the contract here, I mean, what are your rights to carry forward, like vacation time or other kinds of things? So if I were just looking at this as a personnel agreement, and say your council enters, there'd be things I'd want to know, or maybe, because in a sense you're like within the town, but you're also a step removed. So, I mean, things like if you were to leave, you have coverage for healthcare or whatever. So I just think we shouldn't be doing this as amateurs. I think it would be worth just being sure that there's that kind of close look to be sure it's up to date, because it's 7 years from when it was initially adopted, and personnel has changed in terms of who's on the select board, and a lot of people on the select board may never have seen this document, especially newer people. So I think it's wise for you to have marked it up and shared it with us, and I appreciate that a lot. I think that's helping us see what the focus may be, but I think we really need to give ourselves enough time to do this right.
Judith, if I may interrupt, Andrew, was KP hired then, 2002? I can't remember. Were they?
No.
They were already on, no, they weren't on board yet.
No.
Okay, so that's kind of important.
I will say that some of the things that, Judith, some of the things that you did reference are in a separate employment contract, but I do think, it makes sense to, I believe that the selectmen did take some sort, or select board had taken some action to look at this legally in the past, so perhaps we'll get some more information from them on that.
And also, Andrew, to go back to your number one, was the cabinet established when this was written? Or was
Yes.
that on its way?
It was.
Okay.
And there's a specific reference in here about
I
that.
know there is, and I just couldn't remember if it was like new yet or not, or in the works. Okay.
Yep.
Judith, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you ready for him to go on?
That was mostly to provide examples, but I just think we're not going to reach resolution here tonight.
No.
I think everybody knows it. It might be also just occurs to me now that I've seen the bylaw committee stuff that, I mean, in a sense, we better be sure that we've cleaned up our act to be sure that how the SCDC operates, is up to date too. So in a sense, there may be things that, I don't know if this is true, Andrew, to review the MOU, whether there's things about how the commission operates. I saw, for example, I think I remember in there something about the budget being reviewed by NPDC before it's reviewed by the manager, some of those things. So I think there's not a broad number of things that overlap, but I think there's some things there that you don't want inconsistencies in understanding, and we probably need to get those squared away as well.
Yes, totally agree.
I think before you go on to your next red lines, 5.4 sort of explains, this agreement may be amended provided such amendment is mutually agreeable and committed to writing by the signatories here too. I mean, that's sort of funny. We don't know if it's all of us or the select board, but then that right there sort of says it's both boards, kind of, at least as far as changing anything. And I think that the joint meeting, getting back to that and getting some sort of established, stuff from here that we need to fix, sort of to create those meetings, that will be a good agenda, way to create an agenda that's meaningful for us to do it. Because it isn't easy to get the planning commission and the select board together in the same room for anything. So this is important that we take that action of that potential and sort of get this to be on that meeting schedule, so.
At the same time, she's truly a council, town council.
Definitely, that's what, we need to have them go, I mean, I'm sure that they've read this already, but like, who's the most, I'm sure that somebody is, more familiar than somebody else, right? Yeah, I would say so. Yes, Fritz, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, can I give you one more thought on that?
Yep, go ahead, Judith.
It also seems to me that it's an agreement affecting Andrew, but it's also an agreement between the NPDC and the town. And that is, I mean, could the town sue the NPDC if we weren't doing adequate oversight? I mean, not personal to Andrew, but just trying to think about this. So I really think it'll be good to get some legal counsel about who's responsible to each other for what, because it's kind of a blended document in that it's dealing with the floods director, but insofar as, in a sense, we're the party that offers services back to the town, we really need to be clear about that if we're doing our job. That's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would just reiterate that. I mean, I read through it, and my first impression was that things were kind of mushed together, and that from my perspective as a commission member, I would want to be able to read the agreement and clearly understand what my responsibilities are. And typically in an agreement like this among parties, you set forth what the various responsibilities of each of the parties or groups are. So I think what we need to do, and I would suggest and hope that every member would do, would be to read through it and think through what suggestions or questions, maybe it's just questions, what questions should this agreement be responding to or answering?
Yeah.
So that we kind of then have a checklist of going through things in the context of probably what will ultimately be hashing this all out in some manner with the select board, but at least have prepared ourselves enough so that we've thought through what is it we want to know, what is it we think somebody else ought to be doing, what should we be doing, and I'll be happy to add a bunch of comments, but I think that's the context.
Could I ask?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I'm just wondering if this is really a unique and original document or concept. There are other, Cape towns that function like we do. Maybe not an island, but is there something that we might be able to look at their past, their boilerplate, and get, maybe not copy it per se with an exact copy, but get ideas off of that? Because I just can't believe that this is one of a kind.
Well, I just want to clarify that regional planning agencies, especially the rural regional planning agencies, enter into agreements for service with their respective towns. That happens on the Vineyard, it happens in Franklin County. You had the director visiting here from Franklin County. So this concept isn't new, isn't crazy. When this was being considered, we followed a deliberate model. Okay. Now, in terms of what services we're providing, as I said the last time, plus is a concept that was developed between the selectman at the time and the town manager and the commission at the time and me. So it was a request for us to take over some of these services and to reduce the number of direct reports to the town manager. That's what we were asked to do. So I don't want to, this isn't personal to me. It's about basically an approach that was viewed as an efficient way to deal with it and to put oriented departments under one head and have that person run it. So it's nothing that we have to continue with. And I think, there are municipal options and there's other regional options as well. There's clearly more than were outlined in that report. So I don't think that, you need to be, in part of your thinking, I think I would encourage you to think much more broadly than what you read in that report, because there's other options here. So I included basically, some of the responses that we're getting from our customers, which I'm particularly proud about, the kind of feedback that we're getting from customers, which, again, flew in the face of that draft report that you all had looked at earlier. So,
Well, the timing was bad, so. But, Andrew, so do you want to explain the other red lines? I mean, I know obviously the next one is Ken Beaugrand and the changes in that. Is that the reason for you drawing through that?
well, yeah, that's what was one of the particular goals that was listed, to transfer the,
Yeah.
The yard sale program over to the real estate specialist. So again, if, I don't want to jump ahead here, but in terms of the goals that were suggested, at least on page 131, that's why,
Yeah.
removing that specific thing, there was a discussion. I mean, again, this is just an initial, this wasn't meant to be acted upon tonight, but, at your last meeting, we did suggest that it would be here to start talking about it.
It's important because we have new people and they're not familiar with all this, so we're sort of doing it now. And it's good that,
Right.
that you sort of prepared it this way.
So there's all kinds of other changes that are likely to come. I totally agree that the bylaw and this need to be in sync together, so there's no conflicts. And we certainly still need to get input from the other select board and town manager as well.
I also think too, if we didn't have the Novak report, I think we'd be talking about this anyway. I mean, from our own, something would have driven this to get reopened, sort of like the master plan, 10 years. I mean, it's been 7. There's things that have changed, the health department part, which, and the Ken Beaugrand part, and your role is still there. It's just not exactly the same. So it's, I think this is healthy, regardless of Novak. So, and definitely, I didn't know KP wasn't here. That's interesting. I think that's really important. We got to get them, because we're going to need some help with some of this cleanup. And we don't even have select board here. We have board of selectmen still. So, I mean, this is...
Clearly, there weren't enough lawyers involved, because this agreement's only 2 pages long.
There you go.
Part-time.
So does anyone else have anything before we sort of move to Andrew's goals and stuff? I mean, it's all connected, I'm just saying. Do we have anything else? Anyone else have any other questions before we move on? I mean, this is going to be, we're going to bring this back, Andrew, as part of whether it's a meeting with the selectmen or whether it's another discussion here.
So I'll discuss with the town manager about getting some, seeing what legal work they've done already that they could share and get her comments. And then, again, I think we'll keep it open as a topic until we have our joint meeting.
Okay.
To you, I guess, or to Andrew, to the extent that we have comments, questions, things that we input, should we send that to Andrew, to you, copy to Andrew, how do you want?
I would, why don't you just send them in and then we'll work on them and then share them with the full
Share
commission.
them back with the commission
Sure.
at some point?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, good suggestion. Thank you for that. So Andrew, do you want to go through your handwritten list?
Handwritten.
Well.
No, I think I've covered it unless you have any specific
It's all
questions.
sort of already just covered. Okay.
I've highlighted what I really thought was, needed some work, and, I'm certain, there may be other perspectives, and I
meant the goals, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I jumped to the goals.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, my handwriting's pretty good then.
It's your list.
Printed quite well.
Printed, sorry.
So basically, I've included here, the town manager generated a list of goals that she had suggested. I had included some of my own, and then the last one in italics is Judith's suggestion about the annual review process. So again, if people have other ideas, I'm happy to.
we'll talk about the improving, expanding data production and distribution. That is a very broad statement. That could be a lot of different things, like talking about the zoning changes, the reduction in density, the survey stuff that we talked about.
Yep.
Mike, no, this is your thing, the Survey Monkey stuff.
I didn't get a lot of help with it, but.
How, we brought this up at Capitol. This is gonna be a hot topic at Capitol because that's where the incubator is, theoretically, for how, Matt, and chime in if you have anything to add, how the articles sort of end up combined. I mean, we're gonna have to figure that out. We're not gonna be able to sacrifice a sidewalk for a roundabout, you know, because that's what we did. Even though the roundabouts work, you know, we lost them by 6 votes. It's embarrassing. I can't even believe that. But we also lost 2 sidewalks because of that. Same with the boulevard roads. So I think that's a big one that has a lot of moving parts and different departments and different people, department heads that don't agree or do agree, or haven't been here long enough to figure out the voters. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Well, I want to make it clear, though, that this is these are goals for me.
No, I know.
I don't want to start.
But it does sort of touch on a lot of different things.
I mean, I've talked to the staff based on some of the feedback that I've gotten is that, you know, there's been a desire for more, you know, ongoing reporting, database type of information, and we've been working to get that, you know, generated and up on the website. So it's something that, again, if you have specific ideas that you want to submit, but we've been, you know, we went through a period where, you know, it was kind of catch up from the last time, and we want more statistics about building and about other things that you've asked for that we intend to make available and have on the website. So that's what that particular item is. And somewhat related is, again, there was feedback about more written reporting and analysis. So again, that's something that I've proposed as a goal that you can evaluate at the next time period. So.
Yeah.
Wendy, go ahead, just real quick.
A quick
No,
comment
go ahead.
on
Yep.
that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Wendy.
Go ahead.
Yep.
I remember being, back on the Sustainable Nantucket days, Christine Silverstein had a lot of we would have a lot of metrics, and I feel like sometimes they're on the softer side a little bit than maybe some of the numbers that we get that are a little more data. So if that's part of expanding the data, Matt, maybe you remember some of that stuff?
Yeah. We didn't have.
It occurs to me like things like mental health, the needs, because it's not something that we talk about here, but it's relevant, to the quality of the island. So again, not necessarily on Andrew, but like as far as we put together what reports.
Statistics.
What are we measuring ourselves against?
Yeah.
What kind of progress are we trying to make? And make sure it's pretty holistic. That would be, I think, rewarding.
Go ahead, Fritz.
I think it's a good start. Personally, I would like to see it be a little more detailed in 2 respects. Where it's appropriate, I don't mean a timeline, but like an end point, in other words. So if you're dealing with initiate master plan update process, I'd like to see in your mind, what do you think that means in terms of timing? Is that by the end of the year? Is that by the end of next year? Is that?
Remember, we're talking about the period between February 1st and January 31st.
Right, okay.
So I can expand on what we're doing under all of these. I mean, this was, again, just to get the goals out.
Yeah.
And at the next meeting, I'm happy to, report out on those or structure my reporting around them.
I'm not asking for like pages of
Sure.
anything. I just, to the extent, in other words, if we come to the end of the year and then we say, okay, let's see, did you do this? I want enough detail that it's measurable quantifiable in some way.
Sure.
And like I say, I don't think it needs to be tons of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to the the data, the production data or reporting, maybe just a few examples of what you think
Sure.
is appropriate.
Okay.
Rather than, I did that, and then with the end of the year, we say, yeah, but I thought you were gonna do this, and I thought you were gonna do that.
It's like a
And then-
starting and an end point.
Yeah, yeah.
A regular update every 2 meetings or so to see where we are, if we can support
Yeah.
you in attaining those goals and where we set at each goal. And not necessarily a timeline, but maybe just an update periodically to see where we're at and see if we can help you get where you need to be.
I bet you have most of that right in your mind right now. Just a question of putting it.
I do, but I want to hear from you too about expectations, because I do want to get a sense of that. Because this list is, is not everything that happens, as you know. There's a multiple person, complicated department to run and other things that I just haven't included here. This is sort of like, kind of.
Judith, are you?
Where are you, Jack?
Oh, okay.
Dinner's ready.
Go ahead, John.
Never get them out quick enough.
Never get them out.
Andrew, just not to add to your goals, but it's one of my thoughts would be to see if there's room for this. Maybe the consideration for a full-time communications and social media administrator. I think when Nat just said about losing by 6 votes, an article, something that was approved at town meeting but then failed at the town vote, something like that is really important and imperative that we get the word out. And I think in today's times, with everything going on with grassroots efforts that we've seen in certain projects, if we had somebody that was able to and authorized to comment, whether not giving a personal opinion, but go to the sources such as yourself, get the word, and then respond, I think the town in general would be more educated, because a lot of people just don't say, hey, I want to go on the town site and get an answer. But everyone communicates through Twitter and Facebook and something like that, with a communication, like appointed position, where it would be included in the plus department. I think that would be hugely beneficial to the entire town and the people of the town. So anyway, that's a long version of it, but I don't know if you had any thoughts for a position like that, or how we can go obtain a position like that.
I completely agree with that, because I think there's too many opinions that go around that's not necessarily factual. And when you list out facts without putting in a personal opinion, where it's easy to access the information would reach a broader scope of people, and that would be very helpful. I don't know how you go about that, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I will say that, and I think Mike and I had similar interactions at the planning conference in San Francisco, where we met all kinds of public agencies that have those positions now. Municipalities, regional transit authorities that have really departments set up that monitor that. So you just have blown apart my new staff argument, but it's something that I certainly would be willing to bring forward and talk to the town manager about. And I know that they have a staff person who I believe, tries and does an excellent job, Florencia, who is great.
Yes, yeah.
I just think that she's got many duties in addition to that. And I will say that in these, what we heard, and Mike, I think you had a similar,
San Francisco.
And you came back from that.
the people that I talk to have full-time, there's enough activity that you've got these kind of younger people that are monitoring and providing, factual corrections all the time to this sort of, all this misinformation that goes out so quickly. What is there? There's a saying that the misinformation goes around the world before, the truth, is finished or something. And it's like, I think that's what we saw a little bit, if not a lot of, at the last, the ballot question initiative. There was all kinds of misinformation sort of hauled out at the last minute that was completely false. And I don't think there was maybe enough time to really address it, right?
Correct.
Certainly there was complete misinformation about that's then corrected after the vote. There was a misinformation that, because town meeting voted, these projects were already funded. And so the vote at the ballot was just to raise your taxes, and that there was secret stashes of money to pay for it.
Oh,
I mean,
my gosh.
Don't forget the free house.
well,
We discussed that, we discussed this similar, the vote and things similarly at the strategic planning.
Yeah.
And I think there's I'll give my take on it is it's sort of, we've got a split island. I mean, there's, the island is split on, how to solve some of the issues, some of the big ones, how to solve the traffic. I think we're split on that. And I also think that we're split, I think sometimes I think part of the government thinks that our taxes are low and and everything's fine. But, and I think that's what, a lot of people think that's the case. And I think a lot of people are getting getting sort of sticker shock now when they get their bills, because there's gentrification happening in their neighborhoods. And so all of a sudden, what really can't go up because we have a low tax rate and, your house isn't worth much, all of a sudden it's gone up a lot. So I think that we had two things going on that no amount of sort of PR may have put back in the bottle. We might have got those 6 votes, but I don't think we were going to get the other ones myself. And so, I think it's more than just PR. I think it's sort of, looking at it holistically and figuring out, proving that it really is the right way to do it, and, and getting 80-90% of the people to believe that. And if we do that, if we prove it and do that, then I think they'll pass. And we were talking about breaking out just the sidewalks and the bike stuff for Newtown.
That's what I meant when I said earlier.
And we think if we did just the sidewalks, and you guys can say, if you agree or not, but if we did Newtown Road and Old South Road, and we're taking the rotaries out of it and just doing the sidewalks, I think those things would pass.
I think you're right.
No, that's why I brought that
Definitely.
up. I just wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then of course,
others
don't have election day when they're closing half of Sconset Road for the sewer connection, because that's what happened.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? So, and I had a person the other day say, why didn't we leave the wooden one and just fix it? Oh my God. I was like, wow, okay. That was an interesting one. But anyway, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Anyways, thanks for listening. Just a little bit of thought, because I know we've had long conversations about this in the past. You may actually want to consider, as a board, formalizing a letter to the town manager on that respect. It's in writing all of a sudden. I think that may be more fruitful. You're right. Here's the problem. There's a number of different reasons why things work, including that sometimes the truth is terribly inconvenient for certain people, and it's just easier to keep repeating the same process. You need someone who can be diligent about this on a full-time basis, because that's what it is. I think Andrew and Mike have got some good ideas that they could lay out for you, but this isn't something that should just be the focus of your commission. It's something that should be the focus of the town, because it affects things in a much broader spectrum of things. So you have a part in it, the planning board has a part in it, other commissions have a part in it, even the town when it tries to bring things forward. And Nat, you should know that from the capital committee as well. So that might be my suggestion to you at this point, is formalize it into a little bit more of a concrete thing that's in writing that you can always go back to, as opposed to just dialoguing. So just my 2 cents. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Barry. So, what are we doing? Okay, so this is all gonna come back, Andrew. Does anyone else have any questions or additions to Andrew's goals that we wanna, just feel free to, go see Andrew and send him a message, or,
Mr. Chairman, I would like you to vote on the goals. I mean, we're now,
I know, it's June.
we're months into this, the period, and I really need, since this was brought up as an issue, I'd really appreciate a vote.
Okay. Does anyone have any more questions, or I'll accept the motion to To endorse, I guess I would say endorse or approve or.
Accept.
Accept, that's better. Accept Andrew's goals.
Do we want to add John's?
I wanted to just see if we can either formalize a letter to you requesting information or possibility of how we can go about exploring the full-time position, or thank you, would we want to add those to your goals? Are you in agreement with that, or would you rather have me or someone in the board treat that separately?
I'm happy to bring it up.
Okay, then I would, well, whoever was making the motion.
Nobody was.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to accept Andrew's proposed goals with the addition of formally exploring full-time communication specialist in social media. Media.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
That's good, I think.
Social media monitor?
Communications and social media administrator.
Monitor.
A monitor. There you go.
Both, well, it'll be both, but it'll be.
Administrator seems like it's too expensive.
They're all expensive.
Monitor, we can afford that.
Into that motion,
What's that?
can we add in periodic updates on the goals in that motion somehow?
Sure.
Yeah.
Friendly amendment?
With the addition of periodic updates.
Okay, is there a
Add the-
second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
You add add the social media and I'm out. I don't like to, I just ignore that stuff.
Okay.
So you add that to me, because I don't think a lot of good comes out of it.
Communications director then?
I just think it's, I don't know if it's needed, but,
Well-
everything else I agree with, so.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
And
I
Jack?
got an eye.
Those opposed?
Fritz
Oh.
McClure, aye.
Sorry. You gotta vote it, we're doing a
Oh,
roll call.
yeah, okay.
Leslie?
John didn't do it.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye. Do I do it?
Not for aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Randy Hudson, aye.
That will aye. And Judith?
Aye.
She went off for pizza too.
We have a delay to get that.
I know. Thank you.
Okay.
Because we haven't done it.
And
Item M on the agenda.
I'll accept the motion to appoint Leslie to the chamber.
No, assent to.
Assent. What does that
You're
mean?
not appointing her, just allowing her to be.
Allowing her. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, assent. That's the fuel
Got all
company.
these
That's the
different
fuel company
verbs.
for the airport.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I'll accept the motion to assent Leslie to the chamber.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Judith? Okay.
Fritz McClure, aye.
John Trudell, aye.
Leslie Johnson, aye.
Not for aye.
Dave Iverson, aye.
Randy Hudson, aye.
Nat Lowell, aye. And Judith? I do. Thank you. Judith, getting tired.
We do it first and last.
I think we've gone through every committee on the island tonight, so
Yep.
I don't really have anything else to say except what I already said about getting kind of started with capital right now, and that's about it. Staff reports, other business, anyone have anything to add?
I just have one.
Yes.
Just one question, and it may not be within our domain. This may be, I'm guessing it's probably Department of Public Works, but I'll just raise the question. Painting of center lines on Hummock Pond Road and Hummock Pond and whatever the extension is in front of the
Aren't they
hospital.
coming over? The truck coming over? Mike?
I don't know when, but it's very, very soon.
Yeah, they're coming over show.
Yeah, and the other one is the crosswalk. Some of the pedestrian crosswalks, white hatching is really kind of needs some refreshment, I think.
Yeah, they're
Fresh
coming to
paint.
do that, and they've got permission to do it in the middle of the night.
Okay, good.
So.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
they granted that waiver, right?
Yeah, we have to know
I love it.
A company from our
For
island.
blackberry brandy.
Coming home on Hummock Pond Road, I don't know which side of the road I want.
Hold on.
Weekend of Cliffs, so just for your information.
That's awesome. You get to the vineyard. How do you get to the vineyard?
High Line.
Do you take the High Line?
Ferry had hit a jetty.
I know.
Oh, you were on that?
That didn't get in the paper as much.
How did you get there?
So I had to go, I took 4 boats, but just go to Hyannis and then.
There you go.
There's a few other meetings coming up. I also thought I'd just mention too that there's the movement, the chamber is convening downtown. I know Fritz and I have been talking a little bit about downtown ideas. And concurrently, the Chrissy Barantella and David Martin, the director of the chamber, kind of have gathered a group of business people, mostly I think, but concerned people. So there's some momentum there that we can look forward to. At least improve communications on things like, you know, hopefully parking solutions, that kind of thing. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. So everybody okay, except a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have to roll
We
call
have to take a roll
that?
call.